All right. I just noticed I was on mute. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining in for the fifth episode of Doc and Roll series. So, I see a lot of new faces here. So, tell me where you all are joining in from. So, just before we get started, I'd like to give a quick context about Doc and Roll series. In this webinar series, we'll be bringing in value-added resellers and eminent drone solution providers to share their insights and experience and dive deep into the world of DJI Dock across wide range of applications. So, in this rather interesting episode, for the first time, we are going to be discussing about the concern, repeated questions that we have been having in every partner and customer conversations since recent past. Given the critical nature of the data which is being captured with drones, data security is of paramount importance at this moment. And to discuss exactly about that, I have a very special guest with me, Yaya Kadam from Advanced Media Tech. With over 3 years of hands on experience, he has developed expertise in integrating drone solutions into enterprise systems to promote innovation and efficiency. Good morning, Yaya. Welcome to
Good,
the show.
good morning. Hi,
Also,
everyone.
also joining with me is my colleague and Director of Business Development at Flightbase, Achal, who will be talking about how Flightbase enables top tier data security. Hello, Achal. All right.
He's muted.
All right. Yes. So moving ahead, one quick note which I wanted to mention about was we are recording this session and you can rewind it and revisit it for the highlights that you want to see. And you can keep your questions handy and you can put it in the Q&A sections because we're going to have a Q&A sections toward the end of this webinar also. So yes, let's get started. I'll now hand it over to Yaya. So, hi Aya, can you share a quick overview about AMT and the services it offers?
Sure, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be part of this important webinar where the topic is really unique. And I believe this is the first time, like no one had ever before covered it in a full or in a specific webinar. So as Rahul mentioned, my name is Yahya, and I'm a creative solutions engineer dedicated for the drone solutions. I work at Advanced Media, based in Dubai. Advanced Media is a company established a long time in 2002. We are into media equipment, media solutions, and we have the dedicated drone department. And actually, we represent many brands. DJI is one of them. We are the DJI dealer. We've been working with the drones, with the enterprise drones, with the like industrial solutions since 2012. We have the service center with with the technicians, the engineers. We have an office in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh, in Egypt, and here. And so we are expanding. Um, about DJI, the well-known company, we all know DJI, of course. So DJI established in 2006. They started with the very basic flight controllers kits for the hobbyists. Then, time by time, they kept on developing, enhancing, researching until we got to the 2023, where we have many products that are serving the markets for like different aspects of solutions. And yeah, next slide, Rahul. So I feel responsible, to be honest, to rebrief or reintroduce the DJI dock as a DJI dealer. I know most of you guys, most of the attendees are well known about it, about the system, but let's consider as well the other percentage who might not have like the knowledge about it and what is the DJI dock. So allow me, Rahul and Achal, to just rebrief about it really quickly. So DJI Dock is a drone in a box system. And a drone in a box, to simplify the things, let's imagine it as home for the drone, where the drone can get up, go out, fly, take photos, take videos, or whatever is the application. Then it can go back to the dock, have some food, aka charge the batteries, take a nap, rest a bit, then go out again, do the other missions. And the amazing thing about it is all can be done in a scheduled way. So one person in operation room can schedule the missions, and this is called the drone autonomous. So drone in a box, or the DJI dock, is enabling the drone autonomous operation. And by that, while the drone is doing the job, we can do something else. We can have like the time to do more other things. So and this called my friends attendees successful investment. So we are saving time. We are doing whatever is needed by the drone, and we are having all of the things in through one platform in one screen remotely. So the amazing thing about the DJI Duck as a hardware, I'm speaking only now as a hardware, like as a specification of the duck, is the size and the weight. So the remarkable thing about the DJI Duck and what DJI did is they just reduced the size of the duck uh, in a significant amount. So if we compare it to the third party docking station that are existed in the market, it's significantly small. So it's very easy to transport. There is one video in the right laptop in the right corner showing that the dog can fit in a truck, in the back of a truck. So this is very important to the people who like do events, move from one location to other location, and easily they can transport the dog. So the thing that the size of the duck is less than 1 square meter is again something remarkable. Um, let's go to the next slide, Rahul, please. And just recently, DJI they reduced the duck too. In China, actually, it's not released globally, but we all saw it. And the amazing thing is they just reduced the size of it even more comparing to the duck 2. So it's only 30 kg, so I can lift it myself. And if we want to think about like being more efficient, let's say two people can easily lift it and move it from one location to other location. So the idea of moving or transporting from one location to another location is becoming more practical with the Duck 2. It's not released yet globally, so we don't have like a practical experience with it yet. But we saw many videos. We saw they launched when they launched it. We saw the video that they did. It's amazing. So more efficiency, more portability, more compact, and the same features that we are getting with the Dock 1 is with the Dock 2. But of course, it's different drone. The DJI Dock is compatible with the M30 series or Matrice 30 series, where it has all of the industrial specification as well. And the Dock 2 is compatible with the all new M3TD series, where we have two versions. One will be dedicated for like the surveying and mapping missions, like for like accident reconstructions, if I'm focusing in the public safety field. And we have the other with the thermal capability, same as M30T for inspection, surveillance, or whatever. Let's go to the next one, Rahul. So both Dock 1, Dock 2 are reliable, efficient, because of the industrial standards that DJI built the dock with. So first of all, it's dust proof, or let's say dust and water resistant, but the core components of the dock is even higher. It has even higher rank as an ingress protection. So we can call it as a dust and waterproof. So it's way more safer, like in comparison to the other third-party solutions, and it can be working in a day, during the daytime or the nighttime. Since the M30, if I'm focusing on the Dock 1, has the FEV night vision and has a thermal imaging system, so we can conduct the missions during the nighttime. It has the lightning protection to protect in case if there is any lightning storms, and both have the uh, UPS backup in case there was a power cut in the main supplement of the electricity. Then Dock 1 can operate up to 6 hours. Dock 2 can operate up to 5 hours. So very reliable, very efficient. Um, they are amazing, to be honest. Uh, Next slide, please, Rahul. So I was speaking about the solution as hardware, right? So we need a software to operate the dock, of course. So from the same ecosystem, from DJI, there is Flight Hub 2. Me, you, Rahul, Achel, and all of the attendees who had the hand-on experience on Flight Hub 2 knows very well that how uh, friendly is the platform. It's very practical. It has all of the needed features that we need to run the dock, the byte communication things, the live streaming, everything is there. And it can act as a fleet management as well. We can add the other drones from DJI Enterprise, and then we have it as an organization to organize our fleet workflow. But it has a piece of limitation, unfortunately. The Flight Hub 2 is cloud-based platform, and here is the concerns that will rise. Many companies and many entities, I'm speaking about the region of the GCC where I live, they just don't use the cloud. So we have a problem here. We have a restriction here. If we don't have the software that will be deployed in the private servers, then we cannot move the dock. It will not be sellable at all. So it is an issue. It is a concern. Again, a lot of entities, they don't use the cloud. So uh, here where Flightbase really shine, to be honest, because they did the researches, the studies, the development to come up with different deployments. Achal will speak about it later. Let's go to the next slide, Rahul, please. So the concerns that are rising when there is a cloud deployment. I know a lot of companies, they just use it, but when we speak about like the big companies, the big entities where the data are sensitive, then they just don't use the cloud. It's their policy, and we must respect that, right? So an issue comes with the cloud, and they are right about it. For example, if we speak about the Flight Hub 2, it has a lot of compliance, regulations, safety things, but the server of the cloud is based in another company, in another country, sorry. So it's an issue for them. So we must, again, we must respect that. The lack of full control, we don't have, like if I'm working in an entity and I'm deploying my solution in a cloud, I have some restriction. I don't have the full control of my own data. Again, from a point of view, it should be okay. From another point of view, there might be some defenders. They just raise some reasoning. They say that we are using this compliance, this certification, this kind of security. But again, it's a policy of companies. And again, the third option is, or the third issue is, or third concern is the connectivity issues. Like we don't ever know when the cloud has a problem, it's down, or we cannot access it. What happened? We are going to call the service center or the customer service where it's basing in another country. So here it raises a lot of complications, and they they feel that it's not practical, and they are right again. So that's why we need to have the on-premise deployment in order to deploy the dock in our region. Next slide, Rahul, please. So if I want to compare the on-premise with the cloud deployment, there are a lot of aspects, but the three things that I thought about is the deployment. Of course, with the on-premise deployment, we need the infrastructure, we need the budget because we need to purchase a lot of different equipments. We need the space, we need the knowledge for sure because it's not something simple. So the deployment time and in comparison with the cloud is way complicated, whereas in the cloud it's only just a service subscription, so there is no efforts that can be done there. And the cost, of course, since we are buying stuff, buying equipment, servers, hiring technicians, engineers, so of course the on-premise deployment will cost you more in comparison to the cloud. Is again, it's a service subscription. The control, on the other hand, this is the pros of using the on-premise. You have all of the control of the data completely. So no third party has access to your data. I'm speaking about the on-premise, whereas on the cloud, it's an options. You can choose between different layer of securities, layer of options. Like Flybase has different options. Again, Achal will emphasize about it more. So again, here where Flybase really shine, I believe, Rahul, we can go to the next slide. Here where Flybase really shine, thanks to DJI, they just made their solutions as we can think as an open source, where other third-party companies can just develop and do the research. But they have all of the functions and like the SDKs, if I can say, to just build their own enterprise platform. And over to you, Achal. I believe I'm done with my part. If later there is any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for giving that background and that setting the entire premise for how what companies are looking at, and that is where when we start talking about these big enterprises, police departments, right, where they are operating over a sensitive area, having critical operations. On-premise air gap solutions become very important, specifically from the data security point of view, and of course the other things that you shared about connectivity. So those were really really important point, and this is what customers and users have been looking for, specifically when we talk about GCC region, right? Another important stuff that was there just on one slide back was enterprise integrations, because once you have the system, they would like to talk it to their CAD systems, their data management systems, their private servers. They would have their own IT policies. So drones and docking stations now need to interact with all of these things to build those kind of enterprise workflows. Otherwise, it's like just flying a drone out of the box and collecting the data, but
Exactly.
then there's no means to that. The data needs to be there at the right software to so it can be processed and right reports could be given to the right users. So now this is where Flightbase comes in the picture to address these requirements. So of course, as you may know, Flightbase is an enterprise drone autonomy software platform. So we provide the entire software platform. So it's not an application, it's an entire platform on which you can build automated drone applications. So to deep dive into that particular aspect, let's look at this diagram and we can go from layer by layer. So of course, you have the great reliable drones and docking stations now from DJI. You may also need some payloads like spotlight on the drones, or parachutes, or you need a 5G backup link or a 4G backup link. You may need some additional payloads with docking stations. While docking station has a camera, you may want to put additional CCTV cameras around the docking stations to look around, to do visual inspection of the drone or a docking station, or just to secure it with a fence which has an access door lock. Now, all of those things need to be integrated on the hardware layer. And then we have the entire flight based platforms, which provides that kind of a hardware agnostic layer. So, be it Dock 1 or Dock 2, we already are integrated with that, as well as we provide the key components for flight autonomy. So, number one is, of course, flight automation, where how do you automate the entire flight, schedule the flights, avoid no-fly zones, have geo-caging, geo-fence, no-fly zones, and bunch of different protocols which are available to automate your flights. Then you of course have BVLOS integration. So you need integrations with an UTM, you need integration with an ADSB, you need integration with AirSense, you need integration with weather data, anything that require you to conduct beyond visual line of sight operations. And that is where Flightbase has been providing ready integrations which are required for specific geographies. So depending upon where you are, you can pick the right components, integrate them, and make sure you are BVLOS compliant. Then flight safety, of course, DJI has a lot of built-in flight safety use cases, but that is where Flightbase adds cherry on the top, where the specific use cases where you need, say, you have an integration with an ADSB or a sense and detect and avoid system. And once you detect something, you want drone to kind of come down, so come to a safe location. So that is where Flightbase has built a lot of protocols for go to safe location, go to safe altitude, right? And those kind of maneuvers, which allows you to have these kind of flight safety, as well as in terms of pre-flight checks. So we have a dedicated checklist which could be customized as per your operations. And then comes the data security point, which will go deeper in the futures, in the slides which are yet to come. Apart from that, the workflow manager is very important. So the workflow manager that you see allows you to integrate systems with alarms, yard management, computer aided dispatch, acoustic sensors, video band systems. And we're going to look at some case studies and use cases today, where we're going to see the requirements which the customer has and how you can use these components to create a solution. And on top of that, Flightbase has been working with partners all across the globe who have been already providing data processing solutions. So we recently announced a partnership with Drone Deploy, which processes the data, and it's a very well established software for 3D mapping, survey, post processing. Similarly, we have a partner from above who focuses on solar, and they have a software which can do inspection of solar power plants. So now you can fly the drone using DJI Dog, collect all the data, and process it using above, or create a 3D map using Drone Deploy. And now we are working with so many other partners who even provide solution on premise. So on premises solution which can process your data, or if you have your own solution, right, where you are already using a solution to post process the data, our system can send the data to that kind of software. And we have various integrations already available that you see here. Plus, you can build your own custom app. So using this entire integration and the Flightbase platform, you can cater so many different applications. So not only it is hardware agnostic, it is use case agnostic, because the way we are seeing docking station being adopted is an enterprise adopting a docking station may use it for inspection in the day and security in the night time, because now it has become an asset right on the side, which could be used for multiple use cases, say dual or triple use cases, and they can get a maximum ROI out of it. And that is where this technology has huge potential, because today you might be just sending somebody to fly the drone and it is very limited. They might fly for few hours, collect the data, and then you get the report. But now you have a permanent drone setting on your site, where you can get like a 10 a.m. report, 2 p.m. report, 5 p.m. report, 2 a.m. report for security. Something happens. So in the daytime, you can use for construction monitoring. In the nighttime, you can use the same resource for security. So we're going to talk about that in the future slide, but that is what Flightbase provides. It provides you the entire platform to build these kind of applications, to configure these kind of applications. And that is where it becomes very important to kind of use these layers and address the requirements of the customer. So going to the next slide, let's take a deeper down and take a we can touch upon few aspects that we are going to cover today. So number one is of course data security, and Flightbase has been working on this for a really long time. Where for the cloud solution that we offer, we already have done all the compliance with SOC 2, ISO 27001, GDPR. But on the other side, we also have our on-premises and air gap system, which is the topic of the today, which we're going to talk about. Before we go there, let's talk about BBLOS, which is also a very important factor, because all these deployments are going to happen with beyond visual line of sight. And that is where we provide that bouquet of integrations where you can pick the right ones for detect and avoid, be it like Cassia G or ADSB, like integration with ADSB sensors to see the air traffic, or we spoke about UTM. We spoke about a backup connectivity over 4G and 5G. So we already have been building those softwares, which where you can connect a 4G or 5G modem on the drone, and then it can connect over 4G, 5G. So even that RF blind zones where the RF cannot reach, whether you're flying through the buildings or if you are just needing a backup connectivity because you want those kind of fail safes, that is also possible, as well as integration with parachute. So that is where we have been already working with companies and have their systems integrated into our software platform, so you can leverage them for flying over people or flying in dense areas where you need a parachute on the drone. And that is how we have been kind of helping our partners with ready documentation, which is very important, because once you start using your system, how do you assess the risk, right? If you need to write your SORA applications, if you need to use the right components, that is where we have a lot of documentation available, as well as this documentation could be customized as per your application, the airspace that you're flying. And that is where our team closely works with our partners like AMT, so we can help you with these kind of documentation and applications, so your operations are regulation ready. And that is how we have been helping partners to get BWS approvals, where we have got approvals in 10 plus countries using different combinations, because every country has different kind of regulations. But Flightbase provides you that kind of platform, so you are rest assured that you have all the components to make sure your flights are safe. Now, moving on, let's talk about the deployment option, which is the topic of today, right? So this is the topic where we talk about what are the different options which are available, right? And go deeper into it. So when we the topic of today is specifically on data securities on premises, right? And that is where we have three different options. So we are not going to talk about our generic cloud options where you can go online and start. Of course, you can do so and you can use it for trial and experience the Flightbase platform. But as Yaha mentioned, where enterprises have those kind of specific requirements for having entire data in the country, in the kingdom, and that is where you can have the entire deployment on your local servers or your local cloud. So the number one option that comes here is in-country cloud, which, and we're gonna go into the complexity, and the complexity increases as we talk about different kind of systems. So if you can't use the cloud, but still you want to have keep your cost low and have an in-country system, we now offer an in-country cloud options where we can deploy a system on your local in-country cloud, be it like Oracle, AWS, Etisalat, anything where you have an in-country system available and servers available, and the system could be deployed, and you can ensure compliance and data residency norms with that. But certain customers may not even want that because they are working in police department or they have their own servers. And that is where on-premise or on-premises is the most popular solution which is available, where you can self-host Flightbase on a private server with a highly secure and confidential projects, meet all your cybersecurity requirements, and have a complete data. And then we have an air gap solution, which can operate completely offline. So the difference between on-premises and air gap is on-premise still requires an internet. It's on your server, but it would still need a minimal internet connection for some checks, and we're gonna take a look at that. But if you are in a system where you have zero internet connectivity and you want the complete system to be isolated, that is where we have Flightbase air gap. So air gap operates offline, isolated from external networks. There are of course pros and cons. You have highest data security, but then you cannot talk to other systems outside because you're not connected to the internet. So specific operations where you're deploying it for police departments, or you're deploying it for very highly secure areas for surveillance monitoring, say a border protection kind of a use case, right? Which where you are deploying it to do surveillance of that area. That is where air gap is of high value to those customers. So let's go deeper into each of them and understand what are different comparisons, right? And how does it work? So if you look at data security, of course, in-country cloud, of course, ensure the data residency is ensured. So data is there in your country. It's not on your local server, but it's in your country. If you're okay with that, that is the great options and option which you can really get started without investing any hardware or any resources, because you can just use the local cloud which is available. Then you have flight based on premises, where data is stored on a customer managed physical storage, and the air gap, where it is fully connected from the external world. So as I said, the only difference is the internet connectivity over there. Now, maintenance and upgrade. So deployment, when it is done in in-country cloud, we manage it. So Flightbase provides managed services. So you get the same kind of frequency of updates and management that you expect from a public cloud solution, because we are managing that everything. But if you're going to on-premise, then the deployment needs to be managed by the customer, right? Or you have partners like AMT who can manage it for you. And the frequency has to be lesser, because you cannot push every week a new update, because that would require somebody to go. So we have a lesser frequency, but it's still managed by Flightbase, and we ensure that you know the calendar when these updates are coming in. Similarly, for the deployment of the air gap, since it's not connected to the internet, somebody has to physically go there and update it. So you have to be very specific about your requirements, what you need. So your first phase deployment covers all of that. And then, of course, maybe every 3 months, 6 months, if you think that there are things, and if we also are releasing any more patches, updates, we'll push those updates, and the partner would help you kind of deploy these solutions and upgrade those solutions. Scalability and flexibility. So, of course, if you look at these three options, if it's an in-country cloud, it's a high level of scalability and flexibility, because you can expand the servers. You can say for 6 months you're using 50 docking stations, and then you have to scale down for some reason. You can, of course, scale up, scale down with in-country cloud. With on-premises, of course, you need to have those kind of servers installed, have the strategy to have the drone and dog deployment, that you need to project it well, so you can invest in those servers and maintenance. And same for the air gap system, because both of these on-premises and air gap will require physical servers. The cost of ownership goes higher as you go to the air gap, as that is represented, as well as enterprise integrations, right, becomes limited. But that is where that is a trade-off, right? So if you are looking for higher security, right, and you're not talking to internet, you're of course not going to benefit from other integrations. But if you're very sure about that, these are the 5 things that we need to integrate, we need the air gap solution, we can provide you those limited integrations. Now, of course, with on-premise, with in-country cloud, you have applications where our app connect, so our app store and the ready integrations that we spoke about. If you go to on-premise, you can select them and we can integrate, because they can still work over internet. But for the air gap solution, you cannot access application with the air, which does not access internet. So no access to the internet. If it will be your local system, local server, so you have to opt for other integrations which can also work on premises. So that is something it is very important to understand as you're taking call to choose the right deployment options. And that is where we want to provide you all the data, all the information, so you can choose the right one. Now, going deeper into more technical deployment, right? So anybody who is joining from maybe an IT team, or you have questions of what are the things, here's a very high level view. Of course, we can share a very detailed document as you talk to us and AMT. We can help you understand. But basically, you would be looking at physical servers and virtual machines. So you need servers, you need firewall setup, you need maybe external services for DNS. Your servers need to be on Linux and running Linux as a host OS. We provide you the Dockerized container option, so you can have a Docker container engine running. That is where Flightbase runs its pods. And the orchestration is done on Kubernetes. So be it right, today you want to start with an on-prem and later move to air gap. The systems, more or less, the base system is more or less same. the integrations may change as we saw in the comparison table. So Kubernetes orchestration allows you to have a multiple servers, redundancy, and we're going to look at those in the next architecture diagrams of how these systems function. So if you go to the next slide, let's look at this, and I can spend some more time. There are three diagrams like this, but this helps you understand a little bit more. So we'll start with the left, which is more familiar to you, where you of course have a command center. You can see a command center right there. You could have your on-field people who are looking at data on their mobile phones or their laptops there. These are individual people. Then you have your docking stations. All these three things need to be connected over the network, and then you have a firewall. So your firewall settings are done with us, and then that talks to a load balancer, and that is where you have your physical servers. So flight-based standalone cluster, so minimum recommended nodes. So we recommend two nodes for redundancy. All the service can be run on one node, but just for a fallback and redundancy, we recommend that you have two nodes for database, video, map object storage, and other flight-based services. Now, where you would need internet for a video engine, for map layers, fetching, say, Google Maps or Mapbox, whatever map engine we're using, as well as the license management and authentication, right? So that is where it connects to the flight-based servers and check whether you have a valid license or not. So this is where an on-premises solution, where your video, your map is not going outside, but you could be interacting there with Google Maps, because that is something that's require map authentication, license authentication, as well as video engine there. Now, if you move to the next solution, like an in-country cloud, the same solution can be deployed on a local cloud, right? So instead of your physical server, it is your own Oracle, AWS, Google Cloud, depending upon what you prefer. And some enterprises already have kind of big deployments done with these companies, because of course Oracle is widely used, AWS, Etisalat Cloud, and different options are there. So you can choose the right one and deploy it on that, and the same system could be deployed on their cloud servers. Now, moving to the air gap one, right? So same diagram, if you look at, and you see the key difference is no connectivity to internet. So everything is isolated, right? It's in the red box. Nothing is going out. Everything is inside. So your map layers, your video management, your license authentication, everything is on your servers and deployed over there. Right? And of course, if upgrades and maintenance, as we saw, that is something has to be done periodically, because if you have some new map layers need to be added, you have some new advancement technologies, of course, change really fast. All those things need to be updated, and then with our partners, we provide you that kind of a schedule where how these things need to be updated. So this is what the key difference that we saw between three offerings, right? And you saw them with the architecture diagrams. All of this would be available with the recording. So if you want to go back, or if you already have questions, feel free to put them at the end of the session, or you can put them in the chat box if you already have any questions there, and we'll be able to take that up by end of the session. Now, let's go forward and look at few use cases, and this is where it starts becoming very interesting, right? Because as a user, you would be looking at certain application that you need to solve, and let's go one by one. So with today, we're going to focus particularly on one or two use cases. We're going to talk about a couple of use cases in the next series of webinars of on-premise, but let's look at one of the most popular use cases, like police departments and first responders. So what are the typical requirements do you get, right? So user requirements, you'll get police department is looking to leverage a fleet of automated drones with first response for crime prevention, security surveillance, and search and rescue. So that is the first one, right? Where they're looking to leverage an automated fleet, right? And they want it for crime prevention. They want to deploy dogs. As you can see on the picture on the right, you have a dog over a building, and they want to send the drone to a particular location and leverage that through the command center. Now they would say that, hey, we already use a computer aided dispatch solution to deploy drones based on alarms or alerts, where we already get an alert, and today we have to drive there to see what is happening. Right. So that is where we want to have a drone in hand, or a automated drone in the box, where as soon as we get an alert, the drone should be automatically sent to that location. The nearest drone should be located there, and the drone should respond there and get us all the live information. And not everybody of us would be a remote pilot. So
Yes,
then
mute me.
So not everybody would be a remote pilot, no problem. So we want the live video feed to come in the command center. So even the non-remote pilots who are maybe police officers or the people sitting in the command center can see the live video feed. They cannot control the drone because that would be limited to certain people with authority. So that is the second point. Now the third point is they require to manage a multiple teams automated fleet for respective regions, because of course they're looking to scale and they need to manage sites, manage organization. The fourth point is they need way to communicate during the operations, right? So one is their internal communication, but when they are doing live operation with a drone, they want to communicate with the team. And since the operations and the data captured are really critical, they need the highest level of security and no dependency on internet. So this is the requirement you may have. Suppose if you have a police department or you're working with the police department, how do you solve this? Right now, this is something where if you use a standard software, right, that is very difficult with Flight 2, and that is where we looked at Flight Base and how you can use the separate components. So what are the key components of the solution? And we're going to take a look at one by one. So let's look at an highlight. So number one is, of course, customer asks for no dependency or internet. So what option to go for? Flight Base air gap, right? We look at that. So you can deploy an air gap system on an on-premise local server that works without internet, providing maximum security. Second, they ask for a CAD integration where they need trigger whenever they get a trigger, they need an action, and that is where we have something called trigger action module, which could be integrated with CAD. So integrating any alarm sensors, alerts, CAD, and automatically sending drone to that particular geolocation is possible. The third one is Stream Sync, and let me talk about that before we look at other two components. So Stream Sync allows you to get live video feed into your existing systems. So be it over an RTSP protocol or a WebRTC protocol, you can see all those live video feed from the drone cameras, a fleet of drones, from the cameras on the docking station, as well as you may be already getting video feed from your CCTV camera. So now you're responding to a location A where you have multiple cameras, CCTV cameras looking at that spot. Now you have a drone flying over there, and you could have multiple drones at that kind of a geolocation, central docking station, and all of that could be seen. We'll see some pictures and videos in the next slides. Then you have the org member and site management, very important, because as you're deploying at scale, you need to create different organizations, you need to add respective members, have rule-based access, as well as attach right devices, because maybe the control of that drone that is going to fly has been assigned to a certain team, right? And you have multiple teams who look at region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4, and you need to manage that properly. So that is very important. And as you're doing that, you need the team audio chat where you're able to communicate during the live operation. So you can send the right resources. If you need to send more police officers, or you need a fire truck or more fire trucks, or you need ambulances, you can coordinate through the system. So let's look at this system and how we can create that. So one is, of course, the air gap solution. So we already touched upon that, so I will not spend more time. So you choose the air gap. Now this is where trigger action comes into pictures. On the right, you see number of triggers which are coming, right? And that is where we provide the trigger action module, where it can integrate with your CAD system. Now it could be something like an hexagon on call, or it could be like Waze, and then you can get those alerts and then automatically deploy the drone there. So as I'm talking about in the next slide, this could be any CAD systems, right? So a few examples I've shared already, like it could be Hexagon on call, it could be a Waze integrations. There are customer partners who are already using this, or it could be any third party system that you're using. We provide you the modules, we provide you the webhooks and REST APIs, which could be integrated with system, and you can get that. Now, of course, since you're deploying it in air gap solution, that system also needs to be an on-premise or a system where we can connect that. So here's a quick video of how this functions, and this gives you a demonstration of the platform. So on the first, if you can see here, this is how the dashboard looks like. So people who are looking at the first time, this is the flight based dashboard. You can see operator just doing regular operations. Maybe operator is scheduling missions and they're doing regular patrols or security of that area. And this could be any other day where they're just flying, they're maintaining the dog, seeing how things are performing, and they're just doing regular operations, right? Daily operation. Now they realize that there is a notification on the right bar that a security or a threat has come in. So now the operator is just zooming in and see where that threat came in, right? And now they can send that drone automatically or just send it manually, where they can press the button and send it. So both the workflows are available where they can configure and they just realize that there is a threat. They're going through the checklist really quick to make sure that operations are safe, they are compliant, and in no time your drone is ready to be deployed to that location. Now on the left side, you can see that you are not getting any data. That is where, because the drone is off. Now you can see on the right side the drone has come out. It's going to come online and you can see all that data coming in. The telemetry, the video is on the left side. You have information for weather, you have system health, you also have live viewers who are the people who are looking at it from your team. But very important, because you may want to switch the controls, give it to somebody else. You need to know who is looking at it. Is the right person looking at it or not? Now we got entered into a cockpit view, where you can of course leverage things like zoom, thermal, depending upon what do you need, and have that payload control done. And once of course you have reached that location, you can take manual control. So we just released an integration with thrustmaster joystick, where you can have a professional joystick or you can have an Xbox controller to move the drone, or you can use an on-screen buttons or your keyboard as you are looking at a particular area and just monitoring and seeing what is happening. Of course, all of this is being recorded, stored on a private server, so you have flight logs available later to review. Live videos, images, all those have been pre-configured in the mission. And once you're done, you can return to the docking station and it'll come back and land, and it will start syncing the mission. It may have already done depending upon the settings that you have, but all that data will be available on your private server. So a brief demo here, and that is how we integrated the CAD system, and that is how it could be integrated. Now, if you go to the next slide, Rahul, if you may pause this video, we can go to the next slide and talk about the rest of the components. So this is where site management is important, and I'm not sure if you're able to see this properly, but this is where it allows you to create multiple sites. And this is coming this month with all the features where you can manage your sites differently, label them, and have all those functionalities available on the dashboard. Similarly, you can have the entire management of the team and organization. So the next slide, you see that you have, this is something which is already there, where you can create different organization teams, and we'll share more details where you can create those kind of teams functionalities into Flightbase. Then you also have the audio chat. So you have a small widget available on the right top now, which is coming this month, which allows you to communicate with the team. So you can just tap on the icon and speak, and that your team can listen to you and you can chat with them. And we'll share more details in a blog, which should be coming in the next month. Then you also have live video management, where you can integrate the live video feed that we were talking about. So be it CCTV cameras, be it live video feed from multiple drones, all of that management could be done inside Flightbase. So that is one of the use case that we touched upon and we went into deep. Let's look at one more use case today, which is power line inspection. Say you're a power line company and looking to inspect power line. You want an on-demand coverage of a specific area. You want an AI detection, and you have a right of way where you cannot fly outside 50 meters of that particular power line. So now we are talking about a very different use case, right? And that is where the company is okay with, say, in-country cloud or on-premise, because they want to leverage the entire solution, and the power lines could be deployed at a very large scale with kilometers or miles of deployment, which has been done. So how do you solve now this kind of project requirement? And that is where we can look at few components. So you can have automated drone deployed for power line inspection. The drone can fly and collect that data and get all that data in the command center. But what are the components that would be required here? So one is we have something called corridor zones. So the corridor zones allows you to fly inside a corridor. So whether you are uh, flying a mission or responding to an alarm, drone only stays in that corridor and comes back and lands in the corridor. Again, this is for safety because as customer stated in that requirement, they only have a right of way of 50 meters, so they cannot go outside that area. So we can build these corridor zones, and the drone would stay inside and come back there on the docking station. And we have several customers deploying for not only power line but even the oil and gas pipelines where they cannot fly outside that area. So any linear asset, you can use that. You get all that data. Right now you cannot see any power line here, and that is where integrations comes into picture, because visual inspection or a manual inspection may not be able, you not be able to collect the data or analyze the data, and that is where we have integration with third party vendors. So we'll see a quick video of one of our partner where you can set up these kind of real time command center, and they provide a tool to manage your entire power line. So this is a partner Skycraft, which allows you to kind of manage entire your power line assets. And you can see that there are multiple power lines here in the software, and you can see these red nodes. Now, so as you go deep here, you can, once you fly the drone using flight base, collect all the data, it is synced with Skycraft or any third party solution. And then you can manage that data inside that application. Now, the seamless integration allows you to use both the apps together. And as you can see that now you just click, you are able to see the images of that, and that has been highlighted because there is a tree over there. Now it depends on where you are. There could be temperature variation. You could be in a very hot area, very cold area where it snows a lot, and you can do those kind of inspections right here. But the whole idea here is the enterprise workflow, because if you just had the dog and use a basic software, you would just be there with lot of data and no insight. And that is where integrations become very important, because once you're flown, once you're on premise, in country cloud requirements are satisfied, you need integrations with the software which can provide you this data. So we'll share this video online. It's also available on the website, but let's look at the other things which could be done with the platform. So we looked at the Powerline use case. We are almost now at the end of it. We'll look at one more use case slightly, and then I'll tell you about what are other use case which we're going to cover in the next webinar. So construction is of course big. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things are moving. Volumetric analysis, earth is being moved. There are a lot of vehicles, and docking stations make perfect case for construction sites, because now, as I said, you can get hourly or daily reports, right, of your construction site, which was very difficult previously because you had to send somebody to go and fly. But how do you work today? You would send a pilot, you'll fly, come back, process the data. Now you can have a seamless integration with the 3D mapping software where you can fly like we saw in flight base. And we're going to see this in this demo video. So it's a 2-minute video where we see how we leverage our integration with drone deploy to do the entire post processing of the data. So again, you are familiar with the dashboard. Now, instead of planning or responding to alarms, you are planning a grid mission, and you are configuring all the data right here. So you're sending your grid angle, grid spacing, entire mission planning. You have a DJI dock already on your site. You're remotely sitting and managing all that data. So you can see the remote pilot tagging that mission, planning that mission, and now you can go to a particular drone and docking station and launch that mission. So very similar dashboard, but now instead of public safety, you're using it for survey monitoring or survey mapping. So the drone is now going to fly in a grid pattern. You can of course go to the cockpit view and see the images being captured. So it is capturing all that data and the mission through this mission. And once it is done capturing the data, it'll come back and land like it does. And if you do not have any integration, right, you would only have your just logs available. So in the flight logs, you would have tons of images which are available there. and this is immediately available. But now with the integration with the mapping software, you can now sync that data to any 3D mapping engine, and without being on the site, you can see that it's creating the map, and it'll switch to that dashboard really quick, and you'll see that entire 3D map being created inside drone deploy. So you see that entire map we just saw. You can see that there is a DJI dog there, right there, plus the entire vicinity of that site where some construction work or work was on, and you can monitor that. So now you can get it like any time, like it could be on demand, or you could have a schedule of getting that data. So in a short stint of time, we covered three use cases, but there are of course several other use cases which could be done here. So be it like, of course, if you focus on GCC region, there are a lot of companies who are looking at port management. So this is something which we're going to cover in our next webinar. Right, we're going to talk about what are the components required for port management and what are the different solutions which are required. Oil and gas, of course, no doubt, really big market and what are required. So oil and gas requires its own webinar because there are so many things which are required in that. So we're going to cover that in our next webinar. So these two use cases we'll again touch upon in our next series of webinar that we're going to do. So yeah, that's it from my side. I hope that was quite insightful and I was able to cover a lot of ground there. But yeah, happy to answer any questions here, and you can put them in chat box, and Rahul then pick that up, and yeah, and I would be able to answer them.
All right. So thank you so much, Yaya and Achal, for sharing detailed information about how DJI Dock is impacting the industry right now. What are the efficiency benefits that we have, and also what are the different deployment options and integrations which are possible through the flight-based platform. So the Q&A is now open for the session is now open, so we can take up any of the questions the viewers may have. So we have a few questions already. So I'll go over it one by one. So there are first two questions which I believe is for Yahya. So I'll share it with you. So the first question that I wanted to share with you is regarding this particular question, wherein a person is asking, since the DJI drones have usually the battery time of under 45 minutes, and these are the concerns related to the flight time, but how can this be used in the situation of first response or any emergency situation? So how does DJI dog and DJI drone can be used for the VFR use case?
To answer this, just 1 second. It's a good question, a very valid question. The way we think of DJI docks, there is no battery swap, unfortunately. So we are depending purely on the battery. So battery time is, as an average, 40 to 45 minutes. That's correct. So it depends on the area that we are monitoring. For example, how sensitive it is. We have to evaluate before we deploy the dock. So if we say that it's a hot area that a drone must be on the air like continuously, then we should think of deploying multiple docks at the same time. So we do shifting. We shift from one to other. So the first one will fly, then the other will fly. The first one will charge the batteries, and we start shifting. The second thing that I can think of, if you are not looking for completely having like the autonomous operation, you can think of having a tether station. For example, it's not related to the dock, but a tether station could solve the issue of continuous monitoring or surveillance from one point. So yeah, I believe the more efficient answer is to evaluate the location that you are in, and then based on that you can decide how many docks you should deploy in one place.
Right. Just to add to that, what we have seen in surveillance use case, generally today we are mostly flying drones for surveys, right? Surveys, mapping, or inspection. These use cases we generally fly really slow because we are capturing a data. We need a overlap. We need to process that. in particularly security surveillance, you can attain a certain speed, right? Because you are quickly capturing that and only stopping if you see something or if you have alert. So
Exactly.
45 minutes with something like an M30, which can get to a good speed, you can actually cover a lot of area. We have like deployments where people are sending it to like 5 kilometers away from the docking station, right, to
Yeah, it
address
will go and go back.
right? And it gives you enough time to go there, collect data, come back and land, and then recharges for the next mission. And of course, with a smart deployment plan of combination, and now with the Dock 2 coming at a very attractive price point, right? You can have like say
Exactly.
three dogs instead of one that was 30,000.
You
So
can
you can
have 10.
have it, and you can manage that smartly there. But yeah, that is how we see the security surveillance use cases, since you can fly fast and drones can easily go 40, 50, 60 kilometer per hour or whatever the speed of the drone is. You can actually go it on a top speed or 80, 90% of the top speed, cover the entire area. And then you have analysis softwares which can give you or raise alerts if they notice a person or a vehicle, right? And you can stop there if that is the workflow. So this is something that we have seen in a lot of use cases. Yeah.
I agree.
All I hope that answers the viewer's question. So, moving on to the next question. So, it's a two-part question wherein the viewer is asking, is it possible to use a DJI dock setup for LiDAR surveys or RGB mapping? And secondly, if it's possible to be integrated with Agisoft cloud software or the Pix4D software. So, is that something which is possible?
For the LiDAR survey, we are depending completely. Let's focus on DJI solutions. We have the L1, we have the L2. So we are depending on the M300 or M350. From DJI ecosystem, there is no dock yet for the M350. So we need to think of third-party solutions, which are in the market, like Haisha, like Hexatronics. So it's possible.
Right. And with the integration of software, of course, that is possible. You can integrate with Pix4D or AIG soft or whatever you're using. So with the data sync module workflow that we provide, like we just saw the integration with Drone Deploy, we store the data on a private server. It could be a cloud, it could be a data server, and then that integration needs to be done. It's pretty straightforward, and we are bringing up integration with more popular softwares, so you have a one-click integration available with the software that you use. But in case you have an enterprise version which is just on-premise or air-gapped, you can work with AMT and Flightbase together, and we'll be happy to assist you.
All right. So,
Correct.
thank you.
Just to add on the RGB, because the same question asked for the LiDAR and the RGB. So the RGB is can be done with the M30, the Dock One. There is it's not made for surveying, to be honest, because there is no mechanical shutter. But it can do the job if you are not looking for like a high accuracy maps. But Dock Two, there is one purely solutions is made for one, because we have two versions. So we have that will be able to do the RGB mapping with high accuracy.
All right. That's really great to know. And moving forward to the next question. So, this is a question to you, Achal. Is AI detection possible with the on-premise solution?
Good question. So, of course, most of the solution that we see today is over based on cloud. With when AI detection comes to the local servers, of course, you would have to choose a partner which provides an on-premise solution, right? So, if you already have a system which does has a local deployment, we can integrate with that. Or we are now working with few partners and selecting them who provide these kind of solutions which can run on an on-premise or air gap server. But these modules or these models, AI models, could be run locally on a private server, and then post process the data or light process the data and give the results.
All right. That's really insightful to understand. The last question for this webinar would be from one viewer, wherein actually you had showcased a slide which covered the entire layers which Flightbase offers for integration. So, in regards to the AI detection, I believe data from Sky was also shown there. So, is that integration ready?
So data from Sky specifically focus on traffic data. That is one of our partners that we're working with, and that integration is coming soon. So we have already done now a few deployments or proof of concepts with them, where we are sending the drone to a particular location and processes the data. It is still available on the cloud solution, right, or a hybrid in-country cloud, and we're gonna first release that. For those kind of deployment options, but very focused on traffic monitoring and really great software. If you want to, you're into traffic monitoring and stuff, look at data from Sky. They have a very advanced software available for traffic
Yes.
monitoring and that data.
All right then. So that is it from the questions. Viewers, if you have any questions, you can directly reach out to Advanced Media or us regarding the docking station or regarding the flight-based platform, and we would be happy to assist you. So Achal and Yaya, thank you so much for your time. Are there anything at the last that you want to speak about the dog or upcoming the solution and the future of the drone industry?
I would first like to thank Yaha for his time and preparing the
Same.
presentation and working with the team. And thank you for coming on the Doc and Roll series. We would look forward to having you again for more
Of
sessions.
course.
And it was lovely
Of course.
having you and sharing those insights. And I hope everybody enjoyed and got the data or the information that they need. The information for to contact us is on the screen. So you can contact Yaha at info@amt.tv or contact Flightbase at contact@flightbase.com. But really excited, especially with the Doc 2 coming in with more attractive price points, and I think it's going
Exactly.
to scale up. But if you're ready today and if you want to get started, of course, AMT can help you get started with the Doc 1 and you can start with your deployment today. So feel free to reach out. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Over to
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Rahul, for hosting this, and thank you everybody for
Thank
joining
you,
today.
Rahul. Thank you, Achal. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone who attended this and who was ever watching as a recorded version.
All right.
See you in the
That's
next
great.
ones.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.